Welcome to Whisper Tales, where stories float like feathers and dreams breathe between words. Tonight, I'll take you somewhere gentle, somewhere soft, and filled with quiet magic. So close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and let yourself drift into the story of the sleep tree. In a world where dreams had vanished and sleep had grown cold, one girl dared to search for the tree that once dreamed for us all. This is how it began. Once, long ago, there was a village where no one dreamed anymore. Not even the children, not even the poets, not even those who wished the hardest. Night after night, sleep came, but the dreams never followed. They said it began with a silence in the stars, a forgetting, a falling asleep, not of the people, but of something older, something deeper, something called the sleep tree. No one remembered it clearly anymore, not even the oldest ones. They just said, "We used to dream," but then one day, it stopped. In that dreamless village, there lived a quiet girl named Eira. She wasn't like the others. She listened to the wind when no one else did. She watched the sky long after the stars faded. And sometimes, just sometimes, she felt like the night was watching her back. Eira lived with her mother in a cottage made of faded blue wood and slanted stone. Her father, well, he had once gone into the forest and never returned. And her mother, she was fading too. Not disappearing, but growing quieter each day. As if a part of her had gone to sleep inside and no one could wake it. Eira had never dreamed. Not once. Not even when she was little. But she imagined what dreaming might feel like. Like falling into a soft feathered cloud, or stepping through a mirror into a place where memories spoke back. She often asked, "Mama, what do dreams look like?" And her mother would smile weakly and say, "They're like stories you don't have to tell out loud." But Eira had never seen one, not even a flicker. Until one night. It was the coldest night of the year. The stars were sharp like needles, and even the trees didn't dare move. Eira lay in bed, staring at the cracked ceiling, listening to the sound of her mother coughing in the next room, a weak, fading sound. And just then, as the candle flickered its last breath, Eira saw something. Out her window, far across the frozen fields, past the black edge of the woods, a glow, soft, golden, pulsing, like a heartbeat, like something calling. And then a shape, a tree, but not just any tree. This one was glowing, as if its branches were made of stars, and its roots whispered to the moon. Eira sat up slowly, heart quietly drumming, eyes wide and filled with something she didn't have a name for. Could it be? No, it couldn't be. The sleep tree wasn't real. It was just an old story told by firelight and forgotten by morning. But still, there it was, glowing softly in the dark, and then gone, like a dream that had never been. The next morning, Eira woke before the sun. Her feet were cold on the wooden floor. Her hands trembled slightly. But she didn't tell her mother. Didn't say anything about the glowing tree. Not yet. Instead, she went to the attic, where the forgotten things were, where the dust was thick and the air always smelled of old paper and pine. She opened her grandmother's chest. Inside were folded scarves, faded letters, broken clocks, and one old leather-bound book. It was her grandmother's journal, the one no one read anymore, the one with a lock that Eira had once opened with a bobby pin. She flipped through the pages, words in soft brown ink, stories of the past, recipes, spells. And then, tucked between two yellowed pages, a map, drawn by hand, faint lines, symbols, stars, and a tree, labeled simply, the sleep tree. Eira's breath caught. She traced the lines with her finger. The path led through the village, past the whispering woods, and deep, deep into the part of the forest no one dared to enter. She stared at it for a long while. She thought of her mother's tired eyes, of the silence that clung to their home, of the glowing tree that vanished like a blink. And somewhere inside her, a tiny voice said, "Go." Not loudly, not urgently, but gently, like the wind tapping on a window. That night, Eira folded the map and slipped it under her pillow. She told her mother she might walk to the river in the morning, to look for willow bark, something for the coughing. Her mother just nodded, too tired to ask more. Eira kissed her cheek and whispered, "I'll bring you something back." Her mother smiled faintly and fell asleep. And when the clock struck midnight, Eira rose, wrapped herself in her father's old coat, tied a satchel to her shoulder, and crept out into the sleeping world. The village was still, the sky dark velvet, and the stars, they looked just a little brighter, as if they were watching, waiting. And somewhere far away, beyond the cold and shadow, a tree waited too, sleeping, glowing, remembering. And so began the journey of a girl who had never dreamed, searching for a tree that had once dreamed for the whole world. Eira. Last night, Eira had seen something no one else had. A tree, glowing, breathing, vanishing. She woke before the sun, heart still trembling, mind full of questions. But one thing stayed with Eira, certainty she didn't know how to name. The sleep tree was real. She felt it in her bones, like old songs humming beneath the skin, like something ancient had remembered her. Eira climbed quietly to the attic. The wooden steps creaked like yawns from forgotten dreams. The dust in the air danced in the sunlight like sleeping stars. She opened her grandmother's chest, and there it was, the old journal, bound in weathered leather. Pages full of old magic, stories, half-truths, and tucked gently inside, a map, drawn in faded ink, edges curled with time, lines like rivers of memory. She took it in her hands, ran her fingers over it slowly. It showed the village, the fields, and beyond that, the forest. At the center of the woods, a strange shape, wider than the others, branched, marked simply, the sleep tree. No roads led there, no names nearby, only tiny stars drawn around its base, like the dreams that once gathered beneath it. That night, Eira couldn't sleep. She turned in her bed, listened to the sighing wind, the soft groans of the old wood around her. Her mother's cough echoed once, then again, weaker now, tired. Eira pressed the map under her pillow, close to her head, close to her thoughts. And somewhere between one breath and the next, she dreamed. For the first time, it was soft, not sharp, not full of color or sound, just a tree, tall, silver, still. Its leaves shimmered like quiet bells. Its bark was carved with symbols Eira had never seen, and yet somehow remembered. And then a voice, soft as a sigh, "Come soon, before it's too late." She gasped awake. The candle had burned low. The moon spilled across the floor like milk. In the morning, Eira said nothing. Not about the map, not about the dream, not even about the voice. She helped her mother stir the herbs, swept the ashes from the fireplace, fed the chickens who no longer clucked with joy. But her heart was no longer home. It had already wandered into the forest, to the glowing place beyond the map. That evening, Eira packed quietly. She took a small lantern, 2 slices of honey bread, her grandmother's old compass, and the map. She wrapped it all in a scarf and tied it gently, like tying a promise. Before sleep, her mother reached out weakly. "Did you find the willow bark today?" Eira hesitated, then whispered, "Not yet, but I will tomorrow." Her mother smiled faintly. You always were a dreamer, little one, even without dreams. Eira leaned close, kissed her mother's forehead, and whispered, "I'll bring one back, just one." Her mother didn't answer. She had already drifted into a quiet, restless sleep. That night, Eira waited until the moon rose high. She slipped from bed, wrapped herself in her father's coat, and stepped into the silence outside. The stars blinked gently above. The trees stood like sleeping giants, and far, far off, just at the horizon's lip, a glow flickered, the same soft golden pulse, like something remembering its name. Eira walked, past the stone bridge, past the crooked windmill, past the edge of what people called safe. The forest stood in front of her now, tall, dark, alive, but not angry, not scary, more like waiting for her. She pulled out the map. It trembled slightly in her hands, not from fear, but from something else, wonder, a strange hope. The path wound through tall birches, past a stream that whispered secrets, over a fallen log shaped like a crescent moon. She followed each mark, each turn, until she came to a clearing. And there, half hidden in mist, was the first sign. Not the tree, but something older. A stone, knee-high, covered in moss, but glowing faintly with a soft, green light. On its face, a symbol was carved, a spiral wrapped in roots, and beneath it, one dream awakens another. She touched the stone. It was warm, not like fire, but like breath, alive. The forest around her shifted slightly, like it had exhaled, or smiled. She walked on. The trees grew denser now. The light dimmed, but her lantern glowed steady. Fireflies began to appear, one by one, like stars returning to a forgotten sky. And then a sound, soft, steady, like paws on leaves. She turned and saw a fox, silver, silent, its eyes almost human. It didn't run, didn't blink. It simply watched, then turned and began to walk, not away, but ahead, down the path marked only on her map. Eira hesitated for a breath, then followed. The forest whispered around her, not words exactly, but feelings, warmth, curiosity, sadness, as if the trees themselves were remembering what it felt like to hope. After a while, the fox stopped, at the edge of a second clearing. And there it was. She saw it. Truly, completely saw it, the sleep tree. Its branches were wide, tangled like old lullabies. Its trunk glowed faintly like moonlight caught in glass. And from its roots a soft hum rose, like a song half sung. It looked both alive and asleep, like a breath held for centuries. Eira stepped closer, her heart full of something she couldn't name. A voice rose again, faint and gentle. "You found me, but finding is only the beginning." The tree pulsed once, and the lantern in her hand dimmed. The fox turned to her, and though it said nothing, its eyes spoke. "Go back, rest, come again." Eira took one last look at the tree, memorized every branch, every shimmer, every silence, and whispered, "I'll come back tomorrow, I promise." Then she turned and walked back through the woods. The tree behind her glowed just a little brighter, as if it had just dreamed. That night, Eira slept with the map beneath her pillow. And for the second time in her life, she dreamed. Eira saw it again. Not in the sky, not across the field, but real, alive, glowing, the sleep tree. And this time, she had stood before it. Its branches wide and weary, its bark like old moonlight, its roots breathing songs too soft to hear. She had seen it, and it had seen her back. Now, the forest remembers her footsteps. Each morning when she wakes, she feels pine needles under her feet, even though she's in bed. She hears leaves in her hair, though the wind outside is still. Something in her has changed, and something in the forest has begun to stir. Eira returns. She tells her mother she's walking to the river again, bringing back willow bark. It's almost true. The cough has worsened. Her mother's hands tremble now, even in sleep. But Eira feels it. The sleep tree holds something that could help. Maybe not medicine, but memory, dreams, something her mother lost long ago. She takes the same path again, through the whispering birches, over the crescent-shaped log, past the glowing moss stone. And once again the silver fox waits, not surprised, not urgent, just waiting. Like the forest itself, it turns, walks ahead, and Eira follows. But today, the forest feels different, alive. The trees sway slowly, though there's no wind. The leaves seem to rustle her name. Eira, Eira. She walks quietly, holding her breath like a secret. The deeper she goes, the softer the world becomes. Colors fade, sounds stretch. Even time begins to melt at the edges. They reach the clearing again. But the sleep tree looks older today. Its bark is cracked in places. A slow drip of glowing sap seeps from one side. And at its roots, small glowing orbs, like sleeping candles. Dozens of them. Eira kneels. She reaches out. But before her fingers can touch one, a voice whispers from behind her, "Don't wake them too soon." She turns sharply and sees a boy, maybe her age, maybe not. It's hard to tell. He has eyes the color of dusk and hair that seems to move like smoke. He stands barefoot on the moss, as if he's always been part of this place. "Who are you?" Eira asks softly. "I'm what the tree dreamed," he replies. "My name is Riven." Riven kneels beside her. He touches one of the glowing orbs gently. "These are the dreamless ones," he says. "Children who once dreamed too brightly and were taken when the tree fell asleep." Eira stares at them. Tiny faces, soft and still. Each one peaceful. Each one waiting. "Where did they go?" she whispers. "Nowhere. Not yet. They're in between." "Can they wake up?" Riven looks at her. And for a moment, he looks very sad. If the tree wakes, they will too. The sleep tree pulses behind them, like a heartbeat, slow and tired. Eira looks at Riven again. "Why did the tree fall asleep?" He sighs. "Because it dreamed too many sad things. Grief, anger, loss. The world gave it sorrow, and one day, it couldn't hold it anymore." Eira feels a lump in her throat. She thinks of her mother, her father, the silence in their house. "And what about you?" she asks. "You said you're a dream?" He smiles gently. "I was the last dream the tree ever had, before it fell asleep." Suddenly, the fox circles them, its silver eyes bright. It paws at the ground, revealing a root. And not just any root. This one is carved with symbols, old, familiar. Riven traces them with a finger. "This is a door," he whispers, "to the tree's heart, but it's locked." Eira pulls out her map, looks again. In the corner symbol she hadn't noticed before, the same root mark. "We have to go inside," she says. "Into the roots." Riven hesitates. It's not safe. The tree keeps its sorrow there. But it also keeps its dreams, right? He looks at her, then nods once. "Then let's go." Eira presses her hand to the root. It glows soft gold spreading across the bark. A crack opens in the earth. Slow, silent, like the tree exhaling. Steps lead downward made of dark stone and bark. The fox disappears. Riven offers his hand, and Eira takes it. Together they descend into the roots of the sleeping dream. Below, everything is quiet, heavy, thick with memory. They pass glassy walls, each one showing flickers of the past. A girl crying at a broken window. A boy watching his parents argue. A child holding an empty teddy bear. All frozen. all forgotten. Eira touches one wall and sees herself, small, alone, crying. "I remember this," she whispers, "the night my father never came home." Riven places a hand over hers. "These are the sorrows that put the tree to sleep. But if you face them, you can change them." Eira breathes slowly, nods. "Then I'm ready." The hallway bends, the walls twist. More memories, more forgotten things. But at the center a light, faint, blue, flickering. "What is that?" she asks. Riven looks, almost afraid. That is the first sealed dream. And there on a small stone pedestal floats a glowing orb, brighter than the others, humming with something, powerful, alive. Riven steps forward. It belonged to someone who gave it away, someone who loved deeply and chose silence instead. Eira stares. "Who?" He turns to her slowly. "Your mother." Eira gasps. "What?" "When she lost your father, she gave her dream to the tree, her last one, so you could sleep peacefully." Eira steps closer. "Can I take it back?" Riven hesitates. "Yes, but everything comes at a cost." Behind them, the root hallway begins to tremble. The tree is waking, but not fully, not yet. Riven turns to her. "You found the sealed dream, but unlocking it will mean giving something up." Eira swallows hard. "What will I have to give?" Riven doesn't answer. He just whispers, "Choose carefully." And so, beneath the sleeping tree, surrounded by sorrow and starlight, Eira stood before the dream her mother once gave up. And somewhere above the forest waited, and the sleep tree listened. The path grows darker now, but it also grows clearer. You followed the roots. Now it's time to meet those who've been waiting beneath them. Eira stood still. Her hand hovered above the glowing orb her mother's last dream. It pulsed softly, not like a warning, but like a breath. She could feel it calling, not in words, but in warmth. Familiar, safe, like being held before everything broke. Riven stood beside her, silent, watching. His eyes reflected not the orb, but Eira herself. "If I take it," she whispered, "what will I lose?" Riven didn't lie. "Not ever. You'll lose a memory, one that matters." Eira clenched her hands. She thought of her father's face-soft eyes, scratchy beard, the way he used to hum lullabies when her mother fell asleep in the chair. "If I give that up," she said, "will I forget him?" Riven's voice was gentle, "Just a piece of him. But you'll gain her dream and her strength." She looked down again at the orb. It shimmered with soft pinks and silver scolors that felt like bedtime. She reached out and touched it. There was no sound, no flash, just a warmth, like stepping into light after years in shadow. Her memory, the one she'd kept so close, of her father lifting her in the rain, faded. Not painfully, but like a cloud slowly covering the moon. She let out a long, quiet breath. And in her hand, the orb dimmed and then opened. Inside was something strange. A small key made of root and gold, and a folded note in her mother's handwriting. It read, "For the day you need to dream again." Suddenly the tree shivered. A low hum filled the air as if something ancient had stirred. The walls of the root chamber began to glow. "It's waking," Riven whispered, "just a little." Eira looked around. Everything inside the tree seemed to be shifting, uncurling. The sorrow no longer sat as heavy on her shoulders. And yet, something else called to her now. The fox appeared again, silent, graceful. It walked past them, tail brushing lightly against the dirt, and paused at a shadowy tunnel. This tunnel was darker than the others, but not cold. At its end, Eira saw flickers of soft light, like floating embers. She followed. The tunnel opened into a vast, hollow space inside the tree. The ceiling stretched high above its bark, laced with glowing lines like veins of starlight. And in the center of the room lay dozens of figures. Children, not dead, not awake, suspended, like sleeping stars caught mid-dream, in age, each one inside a cocoon of light. Each one flickering gently as if their dreams were still breathing, but barely. Riven spoke softly. These are the dreamless ones. The tree once gave them dreams so beautiful that the world outside couldn't hold them. So it kept them here, safe, waiting. Eira knelt beside one, a little girl, hair like sun-touched wheat, eyes closed, lips parted as if mid-lullaby. "Can they wake up?" she asked. Riven nodded, slowly. "If the tree is healed and the dreams are returned, they will open their eyes again." Eira opened her satchel. She placed her mother's dream, now glowing gently, onto the ground. The tree responded. Its roots shifted slightly. A hum, stronger this time, rose from the floor. One of the glowing children moved. A finger, a flicker of breath. Suddenly, a loud rustle from above. The lights flickered, the tree groaned, and out of the bark crawled something dark, thin, tall, wrapped in smoke. Its face was hidden behind a veil of mist, but its eyes were hollow, empty. It moved like wind, but colder. Riven stepped in front of Eira. "The forgetter," he whispered. "It guards the tree's sorrow. It erases those who try to remember." The forgetter hissed, not loud, but sharp. It drifted forward toward the dreamless ones. Eira stood up quickly. "No, don't touch them." But it didn't stop. It hovered above the glowing children, its fingers outstretched long, like willow branches. Ready to erase, Eira held out the key from her mother's dream. "Stop!" she shouted. "I remember her now, even without the memory. I remember how it felt." The forgetter paused. For the first time, it tilted its head. "You gave up your past," it whispered. "And yet you remember?" Eira nodded. "I remember, in my heart, not in pictures, not in stories, but in feeling. And that's stronger than forgetting." The forgetter paused, and then faded, slowly, softly, like smoke into stars. It left behind a single thing, a bottle, tiny, corked, labeled, unspoken goodbye. Eira picked it up, held it gently, put it in her satchel. The tree glowed again, brighter now. Another child stirred, then another. Tiny movements, hands twitching, toes curling, dreams returning, memories remembered. Eira turned to Riven. "It's working!" He nodded, but looked pale. His edges flickered, like wind through candlelight. "What's wrong?" she asked. He gave her a soft smile. "As the tree wakes, the dreams it created fade. I am one of those dreams." Eira's eyes filled with tears. "No, you're real." Riven touched her cheek gently, real enough to help you finish this. And so, Eira stayed with the dreamless ones, watching the tree breathe deeper. She had given up something precious, but in return, she had awakened something far greater. A forest, a dream, a promise, and far above the stars whispered again, as if saying, "She's coming back." We listened to the boy, born from a forgotten dream. A story whispered into bark and stars. A story called Riven. The tree had begun to stir. The dreamless ones were shifting in their cocoon's limbs, stretching, breath deepening, but not fully awake. Not yet. And Riven was fading. His shape flickered softly at the edges, like he was being slowly erased by light. Eira noticed. She rushed to him. "Riven, what's happening?" He smiled a quiet, wistful smile. The more the tree remembers itself, the less it needs me. But I need you, Eira whispered. He sat beneath one of the wide, glowing roots, patted the moss beside him. Eira sat down, heart pounding softly. She felt it, like time was running in two directions at once. Tell me, she said. Tell me who you really are. Ribbon looked up at the tree's ceiling. The stars above them had started to reappear in glowing motes in the bark overhead. I wasn't born like you, he said softly. I was imagined during the tree's final dream. Eira watched his fingers trace patterns in the moss. The tree had seen so much sadness. It couldn't hold it anymore. It tried to dream something pure, something small and good, something to hold on to. And it dreamed you? Ribbon nodded. Just a boy, curious, brave, lonely. He pulled out a small glowing pebble from his pocket. This is the first memory I ever had. The tree gave it to me. He placed it in Eira's palm. And as she held it, it warmed. She saw a vision. Ribbon, standing alone in the middle of the forest. The wind swirling around him. No name, no voice, just existence. But he looked up at the stars and smiled. He was glad to be alive. Even if no one knew him, even if no one ever would. The memory faded. Eira clutched the pebble to her chest. You were made to remember the good things, she whispered. Yes, Ribbon said. And the tree hoped that if I stayed alive long enough, someone would find me and find the tree again. Eira's throat tightened. All this time, the tree had planted a seed of hope inside its own sorrow, a living dream, a flicker in the dark. You're the last good dream, she whispered, the one it held on to when the world went quiet. Ribbon looked at her with eyes full of sky. And now you're the first dreamer to come back. A soft gust of wind rustled through the chamber. One of the glowing cocoons cracked gently. A little boy inside stirred. A faint giggle escaped his lips, his first in years. Ribbon smiled, watching him. Every memory you recover, he said, makes the tree stronger. Every story remembered is a root repaired. Eira pulled out the bottle labeled Unspoken Goodbye, the one the forgetter left behind. What's this? She asked. Ribbon's smile faded slightly. That is one of the tree's oldest sorrows, a goodbye that was never spoken. The wound that made the tree begin to fall asleep. Eira turned it in her hands. Do I open it? Not yet. Not until you're ready to hear what the tree lost. Will it hurt? Ribbon nodded. Yes, but healing always does. Silence fell between them. A soft, gentle silence, like the forest holding its breath. Eira looked at Ribbon's fading hands. How much time do we have? Not much. I think maybe one more journey inside. The deepest part of the roots. Eira stood. Then let's not wait. Before they left, Ribbon held her gaze. Eira, if I disappear, remember me. Even if it's just in feeling, just in kindness. Eira's eyes filled. You're not a dream to me, Ribbon. You're the truest thing I've ever known. He smiled gently. That's all I ever wanted to be. And so, they walked toward the heart of the tree, where sorrow lived, where the final lock waited. Behind them, the children dreamed deeper, and the stars above glowed warmer. Like the tree was remembering what hope felt like. And far above the forest, a single leaf on the sleep tree turned gold for the first time in years. Tonight, we walk into silence. Not the silence of sleep, but the silence that follows loss. This is the story buried in the roots. The forest had grown quieter. Not still, but listening. Each tree leaned slightly inward. Each leaf tilted like an ear, as if the whole forest was waiting for the truth to be heard. Eira and Ribbon walked slowly, deeper beneath the sleep tree. The tunnel was narrow now, its walls of bark curled inward, like the inside of a clenched fist. Roots dripped with glowing sap, and the air felt heavy with unspoken things. In Eira's satchel, the small bottle pulsed. Unspoken goodbye. It was warmer now, like it wanted to be opened, like it needed to be. But Riven held out a hand. Not yet. We're close. When we reach the tree's heart, then... Eira nodded. She wasn't ready yet, but she was no longer afraid. Finally, they reached it. A vast circular chamber, deep inside the sleep tree's root core. The walls here weren't bark. They were memories, solid, frozen, layered in amber. Eira turned slowly, taking it all in. Faces, smiles, tears, a spinning top, a child's laugh, two hands separating in a storm, each one a sorrow, each one left behind. At the center of the room, a pedestal, simple, smooth, and on it a cradle of twisted roots, meant to hold one small bottle. Riven nodded to her. It's time. Eira stepped forward. Her fingers trembled slightly as she pulled the bottle out. The cork came free with a whisper. No sound, just breath. The memory spilled into the air like soft smoke. And the tree remembered. She saw a man, tall, kind eyes, a little girl asleep in his arms. Eira gasped. Papa. The man stood at the forest's edge, tears in his eyes. He kissed the girl's forehead. She must never know. Not yet. Behind him, a figure cloaked in white, the guardian of the tree. He handed the man something glowing. Give us your final dream. In exchange, she will sleep peacefully. She will forget this goodbye. Eira wept softly. He gave himself to the tree? Riven nodded. He was the first sorrow sealed in this chamber. He gave up his goodbye to protect you. The memory shimmered again. The man walked into the forest, into the tree, and was never seen again. But his love, his dream, remained, buried here, in silence, until now. Eira stepped back. Her heart was breaking, but in the most beautiful way. The silence inside her was no longer cold. It was full of truth, full of sacrifice, full of memory. The tree groaned, not in pain, but in awakening. The pedestal pulsed with golden light, and from the memory walls, glowing fragments broke free, drifting like fireflies, each one a sorrow set free. Children above began to stir. Faster now, eyes fluttering, lips whispering words lost long ago. And Riven, he knelt, weak, glowing. Eira ran to him. Riven, what's happening? He smiled, faint but peaceful. You've done it. You opened the root of sorrow. You set the tree free. But you're fading. He took her hand gently. That's okay. I was never meant to stay. I was a dream, remember? A dream to guide you back here. Tears streamed down Eira's cheeks. I won't forget you. Riven placed a soft, glowing stone in her palm. Then you never will. Light rose from the floor. The tree's hum turned into music soft, ancient music like lullabies sung before language was born. And as Eira watched, Riven's form turned to light, soft, warm, like moonlight slipping through fingertips. He whispered, "Goodbye, dreamer." And then he was gone. Eira stood alone now, but not truly alone. The tree was awake. The children were dreaming again. Her mother's dream was glowing inside her chest, and the forest was singing. She placed her father's memory back into the pedestal. Not to forget, but to honor. The tree pulsed once more, deep, peaceful breath. And then for the first time in years, it bloomed. Leaves unfolded above the forest. Gold, silver, blue, falling slowly through the sky like stars returning home. And far, far away, in a little blue cottage on the hill, a woman woke from sleep and whispered, I remember him. And in the heart of the forest, sorrow became memory. Memory became light. And the tree, finally, dreamed again. The tree remembered. And now, the forest begins to dream again. The roots no longer pulsed with sorrow. Now they glowed with gentle golds and silver blue hues, like stars scattered in the bark. Eira stood alone in the cradle of the tree, but the silence was no longer empty. It hummed with life, with new dreams, and old ones, finally free. Above her, the ceiling of the tree opened, not with noise but with stillness. The forest canopy stretched wide, and for the first time in years, light filtered down from the sky, through leaves that had been asleep too long. One by one, the dreamless ones began to wake. The small boy with freckles, the girl who once held a red ribbon, the twins who hadn't opened their eyes in a decade. They blinked softly, rubbed their eyes innes, and whispered, "Where am I?" Eira smiled gently, tears in her eyes. "Home," she whispered. "You're home." No one screamed. No one cried. It was peace, pure and still. Some of the children didn't remember who they were, but they remembered how it felt to be loved. And that was enough. The tree groaned once a deep, contented breath. And from the highest branches, flowers bloomed, dream flowers. Not from soil, but from memory. Each petal held a whisper, a promise, a song once lost. Eira wandered the glowing roots, helping the children stand, guiding them toward the path above. And in her chest, her mother's dream still pulsed, alive, safe. "We'll go home soon," she whispered to it. But before she could leave, something stirred behind her, a shape in the roots. Not dark, not frightening. It was familiar. A tall man, cloaked in soft golden bark. His eyes, "Papa?" He smiled, but didn't speak. He walked to her slowly, knelt down, touched her cheek, and placed one memory into her hand. A marble, blue and silver, the kind she used to chase in the garden. Eira gasped softly. The moment came back. Him, laughing, twirling her by the arms. The stars above their heads. "You kept it," she whispered. He nodded, and slowly faded, back into the roots, back into the tree. But now, he was no longer trapped. Now, he was part of the dream. The forest above began to shift. Wind returned. Soft animals peeked out from bushes. Birdsong returned, slow and sweet. And the villagers, they felt it too. At first, they thought it was just the weather. But their sleep grew softer. Their dreams returned. They began to remember joy. Back in the village, Eira's mother woke up slowly. The cough had lessened. Her hands no longer shook. And on the nightstand beside her bed, a tiny sprout had grown. Its leaves shimmered like stars. She smiled, touched her heart, and whispered, "She did it." Eira stepped out of the tree one last time. The children followed behind her. Not lost, not scared. The fox was waiting near the edge. It nodded once, then walked into the trees. Eira turned back one final time. The sleep tree, now fully awake, stood tall and radiant. Its trunk was smoother, its leaves full and whispering. And at its base, new saplings had begun to grow. Tiny dream trees, ready for the next dreamers. The forest dreamed again. The children laughed again. The tree stood wide awake. And Eira? She was no longer just a girl. She was the first dreamer of a new age. The story comes home. The girl who walked through dreams returns with light. Eira stepped through the edge of the forest. The trees behind her whispered softly, their leaves like soft sighs. The village lay ahead, familiar rooftops, winding paths, and smoke curling gently from chimneys. But everything felt different. Her footsteps were light. She could feel the magic beneath her skin, a soft glow in her chest. The children she had saved followed behind, now smiling and curious about this new world. At the village square, voices rose in surprise. Neighbors stopped their tasks, turning to look at the girl who had been gone so long. Whispers spread. "Is that really Eira? Where has she been? Look at her. She's changed." Eira's mother rushed forward, tears shining in her eyes. "Eira!" She embraced her tightly. Eira hugged her back, feeling warmth she hadn't known she missed. "Mother, I'm here." "I brought back the dreams." The villagers gathered, eyes wide with wonder. Eira told them of the sleep tree, the dreams, the sorrows, and the children waiting beneath its roots. Her voice was soft but strong. "The tree is awake, and we are not alone anymore." Her mother smiled weakly but proudly. "We waited for you, for this day." That night, the village slept differently. Dreams filled their minds, bright, peaceful, and alive. Children woke with smiles. Elders dreamed of lost loves. And outside, the sleep tree's golden leaves shimmered, watching over them all. Eira looked up at the stars. She whispered, "This is only the beginning." The girl who came back carried the forest's dreams in her heart. And from now on, every night would hold a new story to whisper. The dreams belonged to the village. Each whisper, each sigh, each secret hope is waking and coming alive. The village slept under a quilt of stars, but their sleep was no longer empty. Each house glowed softly from within, as if the dreams inside had lit little lanterns in every room. In one small cottage, a boy dreamed of flying, not in the sky, but above the trees of the forest. He soared on wings made of sunlight, laughing as the wind whispered secrets in his ear. In another home, an elderly woman dreamed of a dance. She twirled in a field of wildflowers, her feet light, her heart full, moving to music only she could hear. The village baker, who once feared loss, dreamed of bread rising golden and warm, the smell filling the streets and hearts alike. In Eira, she watched quietly from her window, feeling the magic spread. She knew the sleep tree had not only awakened the forest, but the hearts of every soul here. Their dreams were no longer trapped in silence. One night, as the moon hung low and bright, Eira walked through the village paths. She stopped by the boy's window. "Your dreams are free," she whispered softly. He smiled in his sleep, wings unfolding wide. At the elder's door, Eira left a small seed, a dream seed. "Plant this when you wake," she whispered. The next morning, a tiny sprout grew by the window, its leaves shimmering with silver light. Word spread quickly. People began to gather in the village square at dusk. They shared stories of dreams they'd had, dreams of hope, of love, of healing. And each story was a thread woven into a growing tapestry of light. Eira joined them, feeling their joy, their sorrow, their courage. She told them, "The sleep tree gave you these dreams. Now you must nurture them. Let your hearts grow wide like the forest canopy." The villagers listened, eyes shining with new understanding. The village was no longer just a place to live. It was a place to dream. And so, beneath the silver stars, the village dreamed. And every night, a new story began. Tonight, the story reaches its turning point, the last wish and the greatest test. Eira stood at the edge of the forest, looking back at the sleep tree, its golden leaves shimmering in the moonlight. But beneath the beauty, a shadow lingered. The forgetter. It had returned, not as a whisper, but as a storm, a swirling mass of darkness, threatening to undo everything. Eira's heart pounded. She clutched the glowing stone Riven had given her. "This is for the dream," she whispered, "for every child, every story, every hope." the forgetter hissed, its voice like cold wind. You cannot save them all. But Eira stood firm. I don't have to. I only have to save one. She stepped forward. The stone in her hand glowed brighter, filling the night with warm light. The forgetter lunged, but the light held it back. Eira closed her eyes. She thought of her mother's smile, her father's love, the children waking beneath the tree. A single wish rose in her heart. Let the dreams live. The stone shattered, sending waves of light through the forest. The forgetter screamed, then faded. The tree pulsed, its leaves glowing brighter than ever. And from the roots, a new sapling grew. Strong, alive, full of hope. Eira fell to her knees, breathing hard, tears streaming. But a soft hand touched hers. You did it, whispered a voice. She looked up. Ribbon's light flickered, smiling. The last wish was yours. And so, the darkest shadow was chased away. The dreams would live on, because one girl believed. The story slows down, to breathe, to hope, to promise a tomorrow. The sleep tree stood tall, its leaves shimmering like 1,000 tiny stars. Eira walked beneath its branches, feeling the soft hum of life flowing through every root and leaf. The village around her was alive with laughter, children playing in the sun, old friends sharing stories. Eira smiled softly, her heart full. The dreams we save become the light that guides us. She knelt beside a small sapling, planted by the villagers. Its leaves glowed gently in the sun. This is just the beginning, she whispered. From the forest came a soft rustle. A familiar figure appeared. Ribbon, his form solid, no longer fading. The tree is healing, he said, because you healed it, and yourself. Eira reached out. Will you stay? He smiled. I will always be here, in every dream, in every whisper. The sun dipped low, casting golden light. Eira looked to the horizon. Tomorrow is a promise, she said, and I'm ready to dream it. And so, the sleep tree's story ends, not with goodbye, but with a new beginning. Good night, dreamer. Until the next The story whispers its last secret. Beyond the trees, beyond the dreams, something new begins. The forest lay quiet under the velvet sky. The sleep tree stood taller than ever, its golden leaves shimmering like a crown of stars. Eira sat beneath its branches, listening to the soft murmur of the wind. The children who once slept beneath its roots now played among its shade, their laughter like gentle music. A soft glow appeared at the edge of the clearing. The fox, silent, wise, timeless. It looked at Eira, then vanished into the shadows. Eira knew the forest was alive, not just with dreams, but with stories yet to be told. She stood slowly, touching the bark of the sleep tree. Every ending, she whispered, is just a beginning waiting to be heard. Above her, a single leaf drifted down, gold, shimmering. It landed softly in her palm. As she held it, a warm breeze circled her. Whispers, soft and clear, brushed her ear. Thank you, dreamer. Thank you for waking us. The story will live on. Eira smiled. She looked to the stars, each one a whisper of a dream, and as the night deepened, she knew this was only the start. The sleep tree's story sleeps now, but its whispers will echo forever. Good night, dreamer, until the next whisper.